Hi everyone, welcome back. This is Sandra with Real World Learners. On Facebook, you can find me at Raising Math Superstars. And I'm here today to share with you the lineup of courses and resources that I have for helping kids develop number sense in a very strategic, hands-on way. And a full line of courses ranging from something just for training parents to self-paced courses to live courses, which I've added to the repertoire, and these have been so much fun. So I want to share with you what we're doing with that and invite all of you to join us. The live courses are only running September and October, and they're in 2 to 3 week bursts, little turbo boost packages of math classes. All of this is linked at mathmakesense.teachable.com. I have the link up above. And I have a really fun presentation for you tonight, so I hope that you'll stick with me here. I always have fun making these slide presentations and talking about math and helping our kids understand and enjoy math in a hands-on way. All right, so I'm going to switch to this screen here. Okay, so we're going to be talking about math facts and developing number sense. Last time I was here last week, I talked all about the math art course. And if you're still interested, that you can also find that at the link that I shared above. But today we'll be switching gears from math for fun. I have a whole lineup of math for fun courses to the fundamentals. And I still say fundamentals with capital fun because everything we're doing is focusing on helping kids enjoy and understand math. So math facts, addition, subtraction, multiplication and division. These are vital for laying a foundation. Most of elementary school is focused on these, and then they kind of build up into fractions, decimals, positive, negative numbers, story problems, all of this. But I have a full lineup of courses that I'm excited to share with you guys, focusing on getting a super solid foundation in number sense. So one thing that I have, this is the freebie for the night, is a placement test that you guys can take. And I've circled it. If you go to the link, mathmakesense.teachable.com, any of the live classes have this link in it. So you'll have to do a tiny bit of work to get to that. But if you visit it, you can get a free placement test. And this covers two things, procedural and conceptual fluency. So what that means is if you want to just give this test to your kids, because kids are always happy to take more tests just for fun, and just kind of watch how they do with it. There's a full section on parent notes, so you can kind of self-evaluate and see what they could use more help on, what they've really got solid. It tests not only if they can do the math, the procedural part of it, but the conceptual fluency also. So can they do the math and do they understand how to do it? So that's good. It starts off with basic number sense and then goes all the way up through long division, long multiplication and long division. Okay, so that is available for you guys to kind of get a sense of where your kids are at and see if there's anything. I'm going to be talking about how to find resources that will help fill in those gaps as you're looking at different curriculums, and also show you what I have that I would love to have you join us for. But anyways, my overall presentation is just to prepare and equip you as parents to understand what you can do to help your kids, no matter what curriculum you choose, no matter what program you're working from. Okay, so with that in mind, there are several key concepts for kids to master. So I've kind of broken it down to 3 very essential for the early elementary years, but you'll see how these carry up through all the way through upper elementary. Subitizing. So this is the very important skill. That means you see numbers. So as you're training kids, and sometimes you even have to take 5th or 6th graders and kind of work backwards to lay this foundation. But if you can start with 4, 5, or 6-year-olds, it works best to see numbers so that they're not counting. And of course, it starts with counting. So if you have a set of a snack or something, you have a bunch of raisins and you're counting them out. Okay, the best thing you can do is to get a 10 frame, which is as simple as a 2 by 5 grid. So 5 on top, 5 on bottom, and start counting and showing them how you're putting those in orderly groups made of 10s with subgroups of 5s. Okay, I have a whole story, theory, research, practice to back that up. But the basic idea with subitizing is that kids will be able to instantly see groups of numbers in 10s, which is the foundation for place value, with subgroups of 5s, which helps when they get to addition, subtraction, and beyond, with this very simple and strategic skill you can develop with a 4-year-old. Older is better, and you can even go back and backtrack a little bit if you have older kids. Okay, so the ability to instantly see numbers. So when they build out those numbers in that way, then when they see a number like 8, they can think in their head, that's 5 and 3. And there's so much more math that goes into that, but that's maybe the most, I don't know which one's most important. Subitizing is a very important key concept for kids to master. And then we have composing and decomposing. So composing numbers goes along with that. For example, for 6 through 10, you want to be able to have kids compose, so they're building the numbers with 5 and something more, okay? So there's a lot of ways to add things and combine them, but if you can really drill in those subgroups of 5s as you're building the 10s, you'll equip kids and prepare them to fly through their math facts later. And then, of course, 11 through 20 is 10 plus something more, hundreds as in groups of 10s, 5s, and 1s. And that 5 is something that doesn't often get mentioned in curriculums, but it's really the key to making everything work, especially if you're going to go all the way through to mental math and get kids really confident in their skills. Okay, and then decomposing is the other side of that, where they have the ability, excuse me, based on everything that they've been learning, to go back and break numbers apart. And I've put all caps for that word, flexibly. So the big skill, no matter what curriculum, what program, this works across anything. This is just math. This is a foundation of math. You want to lay a foundation in number sense that allows kids to own their knowledge and to think flexibly about what they're doing so that they can build on it. And I was just teaching a class today, and I was telling them, we want to get your brain to the point where it's so flexible, it's like your nose touching your toes. So your nose brain is touching your toes brain, and you can do that, and it doesn't hurt because you know what a number is, you know what it looks like, you can rearrange it at will. And all of that leads into some very intuitive number sense. Okay. So as you're going through all of this, there's a 4-step process that's really good to follow. As you're building out this number sense, you want to start with hands-on activities. So a program like Right Start Math is kind of gold standard in doing this because the whole thing is built on manipulatives, hands-on. Then you have all the way down to, you have a complete range. It's not really a linear process. We have a complete range of different strengths with different curriculums. And some of them are purely worksheet, workbook based, but they can still have pictures that represent groups of 10s, place value, diagrams for things. So anyways, as long as you're starting, no matter what program you're using, if you give kids hands-on experience, I always tell my students, your fingers are the best teachers for your brain because whatever your fingers touch, your brain learns. It just makes that connection. So you have to have that hands-on experience. But the hands-on experience by itself is not enough because what you're doing with that is you're building this number sense. You have to keep the goal in mind. I had a really great conversation with a friend yesterday about how hands-on manipulatives can be distracting, and sometimes kids, especially at a younger age, at any age actually, when you introduce the hands-on tools, they may not make the full leap to the conceptual understanding of it because it's part of this process. So you have to go through the whole process. Start with the hands-on, and I have my classes here, so I have 10 frames that we use a lot. You put the pieces in, you build numbers, you get that hands-on experience like that. Then you want to go from there, but you don't use hands-on forever. You want to transition from that to pictures, diagrams, And then from there, what I tell my students is close your eyes and picture whatever it is, whatever skill we're working on, picture it in your head. So we've taken the hands-on experience to the diagrams to the point where they can just see numbers, but those numbers they see on paper have a whole story behind them. And that's where the flexibility and the mastery comes into play, because they really own that process. They own the understanding and they can do whatever they want with it. So along with numbers, I always pair that with words. So when they see the numbers or the equations, the math, if they can use the mental images they have and put it in words. So for example, I've had my kids today were saying the number 8 was just starting off really basic. The number 8 is a full row of 5 and 3 more. And they know there's 2 empty spaces. So all of that comes from the hands-on experience to the pictures. When they can see that in their head and explain it in words, then they're ready for the maybe highest step, the final step of mental math. And whatever they're doing with those smaller kind of slowed down processes carries them into the much bigger numbers and the more complex extensions and ideas. Okay, so if you can lay a good foundation in number sense, this paves the way for intuitive understanding and a solid understanding of many more concepts. So taking the time, whatever curriculum you're using, I'll walk you through my entire set of courses and resources that are focused exclusively on this. But no matter what you're doing, my passion is to help kids really deeply understand math. So I want you to walk away with skills and inspiration that you can use with your own kids, no matter what you're doing. So if you can use these skills that we've been talking about for this number sense and help them just truly understand the foundation, the basics of math, how numbers work, then in doing that, you're laying the foundation for so many other concepts. And just to name a few, we have place value. And place value is a huge concept. Basically, it means you understand that numbers can be broken up into groups of tens, hundreds, thousands, etc. And all of that comes from your 10 frame pictures originally. Okay, then with that, you can do a lot of great visuals. You can say, okay, in a 10 frame, then you can draw a 10 frame in each one of them so that you see inside one space in a 10 frame, the number 1, we can draw 10 more. And then you talk about decimals that way, okay? And then you can put 10 of these inside a big 10 frame to show that 100 is made up of 10 tens. And you can see it grows from there. So place value is kind of a big concept. It can get larger or smaller. You cross over into decimals. And it's all a smooth transition because it's all based on one concept. Estimation, so this comes into play. If you really understand what numbers are, you can easily run through a grocery bill and estimate this is close to $1, close to 50 cents. You can do all the adding, a lot of related skills. Rounding is a big concept in kind of early elementary years, but being able to round numbers to the nearest tens, hundreds, thousand, again, relies on your understanding of numbers and seeing them in groups of tens or hundreds or thousands with the subgroups of 5s or 50s or 500s. So you know what it bumps down to or bumps up to. So 10 frames, it all really comes from 10 frames. There's different ways that different curriculums teach it, but according to all my experience in research and practice and teaching, 10 frames are the absolute best way to present these concepts. Okay, and most importantly, I want your kids to get to the point where they will say spontaneously that math makes sense. So that's the name of my teachable course catalog. All of my courses fit under there. And the beautiful, magical thing about all of this is that I want kids, and I teach this in all of my courses, and I present this in my resources, to see math as one cohesive whole, not a set of isolated facts with rules and tricks to memorize. So if every year, and not every year, even every chapter in the textbook, they're seeing a brand new topic and it's unrelated and it has a new set of rules, and you have exceptions where, okay, in this case we borrow, in this case we carry, And here we're talking about 0.1 decimal, here we're talking about 0.01, and everything's different. That makes kids crazy, and that will shut them down so fast. But if you can build this foundation of number sense, this is it, guys. This is like my big key thing. If you can build this foundation of number sense, so that they understand what numbers are just intrinsically, fundamentally, and then they can build all the concepts off of that one key idea, then math it all fits together, it all makes sense, and kids own it. They can be flexible in their thinking because they can take what they learned in one situation, apply it to another situation. You can do it in a story problem, you can do it in harder problems. I have so many examples of this, but I'm going to keep it at that. Okay, so that's kind of on the side of younger elementary. Everything that we've done so far is kind of on the laying the foundation, laying a firm foundation, and then building on it with addition and subtraction. We don't stop there. We need to go on from there to multiplication and division, and then of course into fractions and into pre-algebra and algebra and everything beyond. But let's talk about the beauty of applying all the principles that we've learned to multiplication and division. Okay, so I want to give you just one quick tour into my multiplication, the way that I teach it. This has been really helpful for all the kids who have taken these classes. And this method of approaching multiplication, it makes math fun, understandable, and it goes with that one big idea thing. This is part of the one cohesive whole that is based on what we learned, and it carries up through algebraic reasoning. So it fits in the picture so beautifully. Okay, so let's say, for example, we're taking a look at 7 times 7. So we use an abacus in the courses, but you can do, I really want to put enough skills and inspiration in your hands that you can pick up and do any of this on your own. Okay, so if we're looking at 7 times 7, we talk about what that means. That means you have 7 groups of 7. So here's our 7 groups. And then within the 7, we already know from our 10 frames that we're breaking it up into 5 and 2 more. So that's part of the intuitive flexible thinking. So they see that's every group of 7 has 5 and 2 more. Okay, and then they know it takes a little bit of training, but it's built on this foundation. So they'll know every 2 5s makes a 10. Because when we do addition, we're always like putting on our spy glasses and looking for those secret hiding 5s, because every group of 5 is a 10. So they know we have a 10, 10, you can see where this is going, 10 and a 5. So this is 10, 20, 35 here. And then the only thing you have to know, I know a lot of programs and a lot of things focus on skip counting, but honestly, this may be a whole topic for another time. You don't have to know skip counting. There's value to it, but the only thing you need to know skip counting for is your 2s up through 20. If you just know your 2s up through 20, you can completely master all of the basic math facts from 0 to 10 we're not talking about just relying on memorization or tricks. We're talking about really understanding the process in a way that will set you up for success when you level up, okay? So they'll learn 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. You have 14 there. Okay, this is not the best example because most of them work out nicely so that you don't even have to do any fancy adding. But even if there is fancy adding, it's not too much work. So 5 and 4 is 9, 3 and 1 is 4. So we know that 7 times 7 is 49. But what this is math that builds on a foundation of knowing what numbers are, how you can subitize them, compose and decompose them, and how you use that in further situations to master whatever level of math you're working on. Okay, so although the process, we always slow down at the hands-on part. I have to force myself in my talking to slow down when I'm teaching. We slow down at first so that we can speed up later. Okay, so this is like a minuscule example of my entire course on multiplication and division. But hopefully that gives you a good idea of my vision behind it and the big forest for the trees, the big picture idea of where all of this is headed. Okay, so checking my notes here. So I guess the question now is, how can I help my kids develop this number sense? Sometimes I call it this magical number sense. I realized as I was making this presentation that a better word is esoteric. So there's something out there, but it's really hard to pin down sometimes. It's really hard to put your finger on, or even to put it in a package. So we know number sense is like the gold standard. Yes, I want my kids to understand numbers, to own them, to not be afraid of them, to do whatever they need to do in whatever situation they encounter them. But how do I do that? Okay, so in any curriculum, look for these things. Look for starting with hands-on, taking that hands-on because the hands teach your brain, to the pictures, then going from the pictures to numbers on a page paired with words. Numbers and words have to go together. So that, I know this is hard for kids, but they have to be able to explain what they're seeing in their heads, okay? And then that leads into the highest level of mental math. And we have arrived at understanding and mastering math facts. Okay, so I'm happy to have a conversation with anybody about different curriculums. I've used and sampled several of them, and I've sourced opinions on others. So I can, if anybody wants, I'm happy to have that individual conversation. But what I'm here to share with you tonight is what I've created for you. So I've spent years and years creating, testing, improving the whole process, a full lineup of curriculum, courses, and resources to help develop number sense and master math facts, okay? From pre-K up through wherever long division ends, third, fourth, sometimes higher. Okay, so with engaging and conceptual activities. So that ties back into the conceptual, the procedural and conceptual test that I offered you at the beginning for free. You can take that free placement test and see where your kids are at just as they are, and what you can do to build on that so you don't have math gaps. And this is just as important, without memorization, timed tests, and skill and drill worksheets. So you absolutely can help your kids master, or not even help, just turn them over to use these courses. It can be hands-off for you, but they can master their math facts without focusing on tricks, without focusing on time tests. Those are miserable for everybody. Without endless worksheets. If they slow down and back up to the point where they really understand what they're doing, they will pick up that speed and get to the point where they understand it so well that they can say it, okay? They'll just know the answer. And it's something they own, so they can, years later, they can go back to it, and they don't have to have these tricks in their head to memorize it. They'll just always be able to recreate that knowledge because that process is part of them. Okay, so who am I to even be talking about this? Perhaps this should have been the first slide, but here we are. I am a math teacher. I have a master's in teaching. I have a double major in math and English. I am very passionate about math and about teaching. I've been a math tutor for the past 20 years on and off, and I've been a homeschooling mom. So I've been teaching my own kids how to do math from the ground up. So when I was teaching in the classrooms and in online schools, that was mostly algebra, pre-algebra, geometry, that realm. So now I've been able to work from the ground up, teaching kids how to count and up, and developing out a curriculum, testing it, of course, on my own kids, but also I've been doing beta versions and doing several iterations. And now I have a complete course that covers pre-K to third grade level math. And it's based on all this experience. So I'm not just pulling something out of the air, but we've based on a lot of experience and research and classroom interaction. And mostly, this is the key thing, seeing what kids struggle with. So having that experience as an algebra teacher and seeing where kids are hung up at that point, and then going back and helping build a foundation so that we don't repeat those same mistakes. We want to give kids a good foundation that they're confident in, so they don't come into math in 7th grade or 8th grade or 9th grade and they already hate it. Okay, that was like one of the hardest things as a teacher to get past is, okay, when I say the word math, let's take a deep breath. It's not an evil word, and you're going to understand it. I'm going to get you there. We'll work together. Okay, so these math courses have several aspects. I have self-paced and live, I'll tell you about that, but all of them have the same components. So video lessons, where you have a teacher explaining the concept. That's not pulled from random places on the internet. That's me presenting my entire curriculum. Hands-on activities, of course, are the foundation of all of this. And I use two mostly. 10 frames, and then when they get into bigger numbers, we use an abacus. But it's an abacus used like a rec and rec. That may be a new word to you, but it's basically a lot of 10 frames put together is the idea. Okay, and lots of games, because you can play one game and get 10 worksheets worth of practice, and kids will get it because they're happier and relaxed and they're having fun and they're motivated to win. So they're motivated to get things right. Creative practice, there's definitely a time and place for worksheets, but I always try to make it more creative and fun than just a skill and drill set of worksheets. So puzzles where you're piecing things together, picture puzzles where it's self-correcting because you're creating the picture as you go, color by numbers, less elaborate color by designs, because not all kids like color by numbers. We do a lot of graphic organizers, usually in the form of mini books. So they have a way to really organize their information. They're creating it and then they can refer back to it. And then I've added a whole layer, and I'm building this out still, of boom cards. Some of you may have heard that term, which are digital interactive task cards, where kids can move things around on the screen and it's all self-correcting. They know if they got it right. There's you can insert little mini video lessons, all kinds of things. So those are really fun. And then I didn't have space for another one, but I have quizzes. So the whole thing is built on a foundation of bite-sized, very clear skills that they need to master as they move through this Mastering Math Facts program. And it's very clear for the parents, for the kids, clear in the presentation of the entire program, exactly what skills you need to learn before you move on to the next one. So we make that clear through all of these activities. And then there's a quiz at the end that's self-checking. So they can use that and see if they're truly ready to move on, or if they've kind of been skimming the surface. And if they're skimming the surface, they're going to hit a wall at some point and realize, oh, I can't do this 258 plus 379 because I forgot to really pay attention to 7 plus 9. So we have to build up slowly to that point. Okay, so here's the kind of grand finale. Over the years, I've developed several variations of this, and by now I kind of am ready to present my entire line of products. So I believe there's something here for everyone, for every price point, for however your kids learn best. So this is what I'm excited to share with you guys. Okay, I have a parent masterclass that's priced very, very affordably. I'll probably redo that and up the price pretty soon, but you can go and see it. This is if you just as a parent, you're just like, okay, I want to know what you know. Get me inside your brain. Tell me your strategies. Tell me the skills that my kids need to know. And then I'll go with it. I'm fine. I just need the highlight version, highlight tour. So I've made that for you. It's a set of videos. It doesn't come with the complete activities, but it's like training the parents to put everything I know and my big picture idea about how this all works into your hands so you can teach your kids. That's like the cheapest way to do all of this. Then if you want self-paced courses, I have the pre-K through 3rd, 4th grade level math, focused on the math skills and developing this magical esoteric number sense. So there's the complete course. And then because that spans such a huge range of ages, I've broken it into 2 versions. So we have addition and subtraction, and then separately multiplication and division. And in the higher level course, I've built in a super fast tour of addition and subtraction, because often the kids who are struggling or need to learn how to multiply could also use a review of how to add triple digit numbers or subtract them with regrouping and just get that really firm. So all of that is built in. It's self-paced. It has all the elements we've been talking about. You can do it at your own pace. Okay, so that was up until about a year ago. That was what I had. But I've added in a layer, and this has been so much fun for me, and I've had great experience with the families who have participated with live classes based on the same idea. So I currently have 7, I've broken the entire course into 7 levels that are more focused on smaller skills and a tighter range of ages. So I'll say addition for 5 to 7-year-olds, and then I'll have a separate course, higher level addition for 7 to 10-year-olds, etc. So we work through all of the skills that way. So this has been super fun. I'm doing these as what I call turbo boost math classes. We do them on Zoom, and sometimes I call them Zoom classes because we're zooming through the math. But we're giving kids the best, most concise foundation with these live interactive classes where it's highly engaging. The kids are completely involved in the learning process. I'm interacting with them, and we're making sure they're understanding and mastering each level before we move on. And then it comes with, so far the workbooks have been about 50 pages, and those aren't worksheet books. Those are activity sets would be a better word for it. So we have all of the games, the templates, the creative activities that give kids a chance to really, really master these skills in a fun way through all these hands-on activities. And then a separate level, this isn't necessarily like in order of anything, but separately, if you're a teacher and maybe you just want a few, or a parent, you just want a few isolated activities. You're like, well, I'm working on triple digit addition, and I want a game that goes over that, or any individual skill from any of this. I have resources in my Teachers Pay Teachers store there. Okay, so you can get anything that I've been talking about in any version you want there. The one thing out of all of that that I really want to highlight is my live classes. So I've already started. I started Wednesday, but if you talk to me very soon, I can help you get caught up. There's 7 classes, and I'm offering them in 2 to 3 week sections at a time, September and October. Okay, so we're packing it in. They're quick, like turbo boost. Get your kids solid in the math facts, and then you can continue whatever you've been doing with math. But this will give them a super good foundation for the rest of the year, the rest of their life. I don't know, that may be overstated, but it's been fun. So I have a couple quotes I wanted to share with you guys about, just from parents, because often it's better to hear from parents than just me telling you how much fun the curriculum is. So this one says, Sandra is fantastic with math. Her teaching style is kid-friendly, and her step-by-step courses are the best I have come across in years. Thank you for saying that. Her foundational math courses will serve your children well in the primary years and prepare them for the advanced levels. So I really wanted to share this because this is exactly what I'm going for. It's laying a good foundation, and it's preparing them. Remember, we have that one cohesive whole idea where you teach math as one picture, and everything fits within that frame. This is such an easy way for kids to truly understand the meaning of numbers and how to use them. Yes, I agree. This is a great way to learn math without boring repetitions and memorizing. I'm looking at my phone because I want to see if I have any comments yet. Okay, I don't think I do. But please feel free to drop any questions or thoughts or anything that you have about this. Okay, and this is, I love this one because a student said this, unprompted. Amazing, I loved it. It was super fun and I learned a lot. And that is my passion in doing this, and that's my goal. And I love it when kids are like, why is math class over? Let's keep going, let's do more. They're really having fun with it. I'm having fun with it. And I really want to invite all of you to join us in this adventure. Okay, so moving on here. This is at a glance the schedule of these little Turbo Boost mini math classes where we hit it hard and give kids a super solid foundation in each one of these individual skills. You can do all of them, or you can just pick the one that you know your kids need help with. Okay, so we run September through October. It's always between 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern time. And every class you can see is 2 to 3 weeks. And it meets 2 to 3 times a week. So we have these courses. Oh, and for the younger kids, we have 25-minute classes. For the older kids, we have 40-minute classes, which have been about the right pace to get kids really involved and keep them happy and then end while they're still happy. And then there's a huge workbook, which again is like an activity set that comes with each of these. Okay, so if you are interested at all in joining these, jump on this because it's happening now. I can help you get caught up if you wanted to join level A or C. But these are happening these 2 months. And then I'll have to reevaluate whether I'm going to start the whole cycle over again or go back to just offering the self-paced. But right now we have the whole range. You have the whole suite of options available at this moment.